Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. You're listening to our D&D game. I'm your host, the Dungeon Master, or DM for short. And I should point out before I really get going that I was not the DM for this game session. Um, the DM was Carlson Barber. He ran this in the 90s, which is kind of the case with a bunch of the adventures I have uploaded here recently. By the way, if you haven't checked those out, check those out first. This will make more sense if you watch them in order. If you haven't seen those, all you really need to know about Artie, who is the main character of this story. Um, Artie used to be a slave. Um, they put him to work. And so as an adult, he is a big guy, right? Big muscular dude. So he was part of a party who went to a place in the mountains and they killed a vampire. And there were a bunch of were creatures in the area and other things like that that go bump in the night. It was sort of like a Ravenloft themed uh, kind of a thing. At any rate, after they defeated the vampire, they go out into the sort of the cold night air and they go back to this nearby village where they are given a reward for killing the vampire and so on and so forth. And when they leave the village, they are attacked by a werebear. And Artie is infected. Um, so he wakes up the next morning by himself. He's the only survivor of the attack. Um, and he's really upset. And something that Kelson did as Dungeon Master. Kelson, I think I mentioned before, he was really, really into horror movies. And he loved werewolf movies. And I know we're talking about werebears, but I feel like, the werewolf movies are still applicable here. That is exactly how Kelson ran it was this is a curse. This is not a good thing. Um, and so one of the things Kelson leaned heavily into was he wanted Artie to wonder who killed Artie's friends. Did Artie do it? Or was it the werebear who attacked Artie? And it's left ambiguous. And Artie is the kind of guy who, how do I want to put it? He leans into the idea that it might have been him. Like, I feel like it's not hard for Artie to feel guilty about things. So he leans into this idea that it might have been him that did it. And so he sets out to get a handle on lycanthropy, right? And Kelson's take on it was basically this is going to take years for you to master it. And so Artie goes to he eventually makes his way to a village. Um, and Artie had busted out of the clothing he was wearing, so he just has kind of rags and stuff. He has to use his friends' cloaks and things like that to kind of cover up, and he feels bad, like the cloaks are just a constant reminder that his friends are dead, right? And so he goes to a village, and there are some Carlson ran him kind of like if you were to go to a small town and you had a run in with some rednecks who were they see that you're not dressed like they are, so they immediately start picking on you and trying to bully you and things like that, right? And I remember saying something to Kelson about shouldn't because Artie's like this huge guy, like in his human form, he's like 6.5 feet tall and built like a bodybuilder and so on and so forth. I'm like, are these guys really going to try to bully him? Because they're both smaller than he is. And Kelson's like, yeah, they're too stupid not to. It's like, okay. So at any rate, they start giving him a hard time. And then that triggers the change. So at this point, it seems like the Incredible Hulk, basically, right? They screw with him. He loses his cool. He's got blue eyes naturally. And so the way Kelson ran it is the black part of the eye kind of overtakes that blue part, which is again kind of a nod to the old Incredible Hulk TV show where Bill Bixby's eyes would turn like a very pale shade of green and you knew it was go time, right? So same thing here. So Artie hulks out, turns into a bear, people are freaking out, and the townsfolk are trying to kill him. So, Kelson basically just says, play it like you're a monster. You're sort of the bad guy now. You need to uh, kill these guys who are coming at you. It's like farmers with pitchforks and so on and so forth. So he does. I didn't want to do that, but if the GM says, you've basically failed a will save and this is how it's going to be, then you do it, right? So Artie mauls a bunch of people. Granted, Carlson ran him as um, very backwater, intolerant, xenophobic, so on and so forth guys. I think in Carlson's mind, it's kind of a they had it coming kind of thing. Uh, but Artie's kind of a gentle giant. He doesn't want to do any of that. So once again, Artie wakes up, everything's awful, right? Um, and he sort of just gets out of there before other people come after him. And it's not so much that he's worried that they'll kill him, because now he has regeneration that's like to the degree that Wolverine's is. And Kelson did something I thought was interesting, which was in order to give Artie a hybrid form, it isn't just that he's a man that turns into a bear. He doesn't just have the two forms. He has the third form that is the Werebear form. There used to be a game called Werewolf the Apocalypse, and the word they chose for that halfway point was Krynos, and we tend to use that word a lot in our game. So the Krynos form is huge. He's just massive in size, super, super muscular. Um, but at any rate, the idea then is the stats that Kelson used to give him that third form, because I think most D&D werebears at the time only had two forms. For him to have that third form, Kelson modified stats from Ravenloft, because the Ravenloft stuff gives you three forms. And then the other thing it does is it actually means his weakness is not silver. In Artie's case, and he keeps this a secret, he doesn't go advertising it, his weakness is cold iron. So nobody is like ever attacking him with cold iron. So the way the regeneration seems is it seems like Wolverine, where you can stab him and like the knife goes in or whatever, but as soon as you pull the knife out, that wound seals up and heals. So because of that, Artie feels like these farmers and stuff probably aren't going to be able to kill him, right? He's really more worried about him hurting them. He doesn't want to hurt them. God forbid some farmer has his kids with him. And that's like Artie's worst nightmares. He mauls some innocent kids or something. He doesn't want to do that. So you get the gist. This one's pretty dark. This is kind of a dark adventure. Um, I feel like it's not where our adventures usually are, but it's important because it sets up that Artie didn't just magically overnight have total control over being a werebear. It's something that took time. And I mentioned in the last video that the players quit the game for a little while before this adventure took place. And then there's a little time after this adventure before Artie gets played again in the game. And then we see him join a new party and stuff. And then in that adventure, enough time has passed that he can finally control it. But this is kind of the obligatory adventure of, you know, there's nothing he can do, so on and so forth. At any rate, I hope that you're enjoying what I've been uploading. If so, smash that like button, hit subscribe, ring the bell, leave us a comment, all that jazz. And we'll see you next time. Bye.